Hello and welcome to the show. No, that ain't me. That ain't me. We're doing a gaming talk show today, kinda, but I will keep it conversational. This has been a request to do a year in review, talk about the Switch, the first year, where we're at now. And since I'm not qualified to do something like this, it's just going to be kind of me just having a conversation about the stuff I like and dislike about the Switch. The reason that I'm doing this is because a year ago, I was playing Breath of the Wild, and people were like, I told people that, like, in a year from now, I'm going to see how the Switch is. I'm going to talk about it. And I said, remind me. So I got about 40 emails, 30 tweets. Someone actually, faxed me a message, Vinny, you're in review. So I did this to myself, make no mistake. But what I would like to do is kind of just see what happened the past year with the Switch and where we're at now. It's been exactly a year. March 3rd, 2017, the thing came out. It's March 3rd, 2018, and it's been a pretty insane year for this system. Let's talk about it. So, I definitely want to discuss more about the games and the hardware and my personal kind of feelings of the system over the past year, as opposed to, like, sales. However, we can start with the sales. System sold really well. That's an understatement. There's some reports that it's the best-selling system in the US of all time for its first year. There's some reports that it outsold the PS4 in a similar timeline. I did a little bit of looking online and I couldn't find the exact numbers, but it's pretty good fucking sales for the system. I think it's at 14.5 million, and it's like already outsold the Wii U or close to it. Insane. Absolutely crazy. It's one of those things that I didn't expect it to do this well. I thought it was going to be a better system, but the Wii U had me really worried about Nintendo. As a Nintendo fan, it is not exclusively my favorite gaming platform, Nintendo stuff, because a lot of what I play is on PC. But I guess I was hoping for a good system that I could play my Zelda and my Marios on, and maybe get a good Kirby and Donkey Kong and all that fun stuff. I wasn't expecting this thing to be like a phenomenon or something that maybe is especially convenient compared to consoles in the past. I was just hoping for something solid so that Nintendo could keep making the games that I like, and then they ended up releasing something that caught on like wildfire. Pretty crazy. Things sold really well. I mean, for me, the judge of the Switch's success is that I have multiple friends that have not owned a Nintendo system since either Super Nintendo or N64, and they have a Switch. My friend Tyler has not had a Nintendo system since SNES, has never played a Zelda game. He has Breath of the Wild. He beat Mario, loved it. Went through the whole game, played through the whole game, and enjoyed it. So it was one of those things that, and he's enjoying Zelda now too. So it's one of those things I didn't even really try to sell him on it. I said, you might like it. Here it is, play it. The thing fucking sells itself, because if you're in public with it, or if you show your friends, the Joy-Cons and, the portability and then like the dock, it just kind of, it appeals to, it's like, oh, okay, I can bring that with me to work and then play it back on the dock at home. So congrats to Nintendo for making, a really good system in that regard. Just the fact that it sells itself, you don't even have to do much. The games delivered. Some things didn't deliver. There's quite a few things that I wish were a bit different, and I have a list. I actually made a list of the negatives. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, again, this is a highly requested year in review. I probably would have forgotten about this had I not told people to remind me. But I think if you've been watching my streams, you know how I feel about the Switch. I overall think it's a cool system. I like it. I think the games for it have delivered. My favorite is Breath of the Wild, followed closely by Mario Odyssey. But you have a whole wide variety of things to choose from. You got Splat, ARMS, if you really like that. There's the host of indie games. You have Xenoblade if you're into that. So there's a lot of stuff that you can choose from depending on what kind of games you're into. And I can appreciate that. Now, the first games that came out were, they were pretty good. I mean, the thing about a launch is you need to keep it kind of strong with room for more. And I think that Breath of the Wild was the perfect game to launch with. That game kept me busy for like 3 months. It kept some of my friends busy for like 6 months. You know, a couple other games came out, Fast RMX. Let's not talk about 1-2 Switch. 1-2 Switch, let's forget exists. Not too long after that, Isaac, you know, that's a really good game to just waste time on. And I thought the Switch version was pretty solid. Who would have known that a year later, the Switch would have become like a really good system for indie games? I think the Isaac Switch is probably my favorite version. If it got updated and had mod support the same way the PC version was, it would be my favorite version completely. But at the moment, it's just like the best way to play on handheld. But, you know, the PC version has some better stuff. So it's a hard choice, but the portability kind of adds a lot. As a system, it's a good portable machine. You know, it works. You kind of, you know, you probably have to get a case for it. Otherwise, you're going to scratch it. And that's, I guess, a first problem. The fact that the dock can scratch the screen. That was never addressed. We still have the same shitty dock. But, you know, if you get something to carry it around in, and then you just set it up, play it, it's quick. You can load into the game like that. All you have to do is put it in sleep mode, and then take it off sleep mode, and then you resume. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really good feature for handheld. The OS is quick, whatever the OS is. It lacks a lot of features, but it's super quick to just jump into, and you kind of load up in a second. It's like, you know, you press the button 3 times and there you are. You don't have to wait. The Wii U suffered from loading times and wait times while you're starting, you know, you're trying to start a game. And that was addressed with a patch later on, but it was kind of too little too late. I'm glad that the Switch focused on speed and accessibility. That's a huge thing for a system that is, well, ostensibly more a portable system than a console, home console. So, you know, the first year, starting with launch, I think the launch was pretty solid. And then, you know, soon enough, you end up getting stuff like, you know, a ton of indie games, some of which I really didn't care too much about. Zelda kept people busy for a while. But thank God for a Zelda launch, man, because if it didn't have that, it would have been a rough launch for the Switch, I think. But I'm looking here. I mean, I have this list of games. ARMS came out in June. When did Splat come out? That came out... This is like a partial list, I think. Yeah, this list is beans. Something wrong here. I'm not getting the full list, but you have stuff like Snipper Clips, which was kind of like, again, one of those lightweight games. April had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which was actually a lot better for people that didn't own the system. You actually benefit from not having owned a Wii U if you bought a Switch, because you get stuff like Mario Kart without having played it. And at the moment, you get stuff like Bayonetta 1 and 2, which is, I mean, that's just great. You know, there's more on the horizon. We'll talk about that at the end. Puyo Tetris was great. That was a May 2nd release. That was a really surprisingly addictive and fun game. And again, good for portable. You know what I mean? Nintendo kind of had this thing where they said they wanted to deliver a full solid year, and they kept their promise. That was one of the problems with the Wii U. That can be a problem with systems like the Xbox One. You have, some good stuff right away and then nothing. And then you have to just kind of focus on either the little games or nothing. And so at least they delivered on their promise. ARMS was kind of fun. I put 20, 30 hours into it. One of those games that kind of came out of nowhere. Nothing major. It wasn't like another Zelda, but it was something to keep you busy if you like that kind of thing. Splatoon 2 was actually really great. I think it's another one of those games that benefits from you having not played the first. Even though it is not a remake, it is not a port. It is so similar to Splatoon 1. It expands. It's good. There's a lot more stuff in it. But in some ways, you're almost rewarded for having played Splatoon 2 as your first Splatoon game. But that's a solid summer game, and it definitely kept people busy. And I enjoyed it. I put a lot of time into it. And again, these games, a lot of them are just as good handheld or perhaps better. There's some other random stuff I'm missing, like Just Dance, I guess. If you want me to talk about that, I don't know why you would. Shovel Knight was a good indie game to be brought to the Switch. One of the reasons that the system caught such a huge wind in its sale is also people want the indie games that they can play portably. One of the ones I wanted the most is Spelunky, which we are not getting as far as I can tell. And I really hope something like Spelunky 2 comes to the Switch because, again, I've played Spelunky a lot. But if I can play it on my bed, on the Switch, or at the studio, or public transport on a train, it just makes it easy to play a game like that. And then you can just press the button, power it off, come back to it instantly. So, whenever an indie game was announced, there would be on social media 40,000 people. Is it coming to Switch? Which, granted, probably got very annoying for a lot of developers, but I understand why people would want it. Stuff like Stardew Valley. We're going to come to that in a second too. The indie games on this system have been really good. There's a couple notable exceptions, but 1001 Spikes is a good one. Anyway, so Splatoon 2, that was a pretty big release. And it's every month you got something. Just about every month, something of note or something interesting came out on the system and kept you busy. Here's one, Mario and Rabbids. I've talked about it a bunch. I played through it. I loved it. I thought I was going to hate it. No one expected this game to be good, and it was great. And so, every month or every 2 months, there was a new release of something that I could easily recommend to someone. Maybe not everyone likes that XCOM style, but I think people who gave it a chance were like, oh, this is really good. So that's kind of cool. I wanted to see a little bit more third-party support aside from indie games, but we the Switch got some good stuff. Axiom Verge was another really good game if you haven't played it that came to the Switch. Fire Emblem Warriors came out in September, which got totally overlooked. And, well, I wouldn't play it. Honestly, I played too much Hyrule Warriors. I had no interest in Fire Emblem Warriors. I know that's a big release to some extent, but it looks more the same with a little bit of extra flair, some more strategy elements. I wasn't really into it. I know some people were really, really down for it, but I don't know. It kind of got overwritten by Mario Odyssey, which was another huge game that sold a lot of Switches. Again, I don't have the numbers. I'm not going to talk too much about sales, but just from my perspective, Mario Odyssey coming out the same year as Zelda. Two really great games. Zelda was a little bit more genre evolving. Mario was kind of more the same, but also did some new stuff. And I thought it was just a fantastic experience. I loved it. That's probably one of the best first years you could have. You got new stuff like Arms, sure, but you really want the Marios and Zeldas. That's why people come to the Switch. It also feels like, oh shit, well, we shot from both cannons. What now? The Mario's out, the Zelda's out. What the fuck are we looking forward to? Smash Brothers. But we'll come to that in a little bit. So, really solid first year that was then, bolstered by like Xenoblade Chronicles, and you got some actual decent third-party support. Like LA Noire was a pretty good port from my understanding. I didn't play it. You had Doom, which was totally unexpected. And as I talked about, at first I thought Doom on the Switch was crusty. You can't really beat around the bush with the Switch. It's not the most powerful system. It can play stuff from the previous generation just fine. It has problems playing, the newer stuff. So I didn't expect Doom to really do anything for me. But it was actually pretty okay. It wasn't that bad. And the new patch added the gyro aiming and increased the resolution slightly. I said it last night. You play Doom on the Switch for an hour, and you don't mind the frame rate so much. And the downgrades graphically don't really kill you because the game is still fun, and you get to see everything that's happening. And for a portable game, I'm surprised that Panic Button was able to get that much out of the Switch. And it's a technical achievement. Whether or not it's the best experience of Doom, it's not, by the way. I would still recommend Doom on the PC, like hands down. But for a portable, surprisingly good third-party game on the Switch, yeah, I mean, it's pretty fucking impressive that they managed to do something like that. I know they're working on Wolf 2. I don't know how that's going to turn out, because that game is probably even more technologically, it's even more advanced graphically, and probably they have to cut back on more stuff, so who knows. Skyrim came out around the same time, which, as you know, led to the Flying Cow space program and Serana performing the sacrament and a whole host of other insane moments here on the stream. I'll say this. I sometimes don't realize I'm playing Skyrim on a portable system when I stream it. It's not the HD version, but it's pretty good. I almost can't recommend Skyrim if you've already played it, because it's just there. So it's nice for people who haven't played it, I suppose. It's a good addition to the library. It's good for my nefarious purposes, which is to cause people to nearly burst from laughing at the glitches. But it's also a really, again, solid port. Like, they spent time working on it, they spent time optimizing it, and it's pretty good. So that's like the first year, and that's just the major releases. There's stuff like Enter the Gungeon that came out. A lot of really good stuff. Darkest Dungeon came out in early 2018. So you had some like pretty new, some of my favorite indie games. Crypt of the Necrodancer came out earlier this year. Some really good games that have tons of replay value that I think it would be a mistake to overlook them, which is what gives the system such vitality. And Overcooked, Rocket League. People are saying Celeste. I haven't played it, but I know it was great. What else? And of course, Stardew Valley, I put like 20, 30 hours into. I love that game. I got a little bored of it, but that's just me. I think some people can easily throw down like 80 hours. The indie support is really good, but if you look at this list, there's also games like Bloody Zombies, Guns, Gore, and Cannoli. What? The Deer God. Oh, I think I saw that one. Blossom Tales, which is a Link to the Past clone. Floor Kids. Kid Trip. Ben 10. Heroes of the Monkey Tavern. There's too many games on this system. I worry it's going to just become a dumping ground. At first it was cute. Like, oh, we got all these games. Golf Story's cool. That's a surprisingly great release. But then you get shit like, Butcher. I don't know what that is. I'm sure it's good. Well, probably not, but what else? Infinite Mini Golf, I and Me. So many games are on the system. So it's very possible that this could become a dump of shovelware and just like expedient but not meaningful releases. And that worries me. I mean, the good news is you can just go to the top games sold on the eShop and you can just buy the stuff that's good, and like kind of find out for yourself. SteamWorld Dig 2, I didn't talk about. That might be my favorite indie game of last year, or maybe one of them. That game apparently sold way better on the Switch than it did the other systems, and even Steam. So there's like a Switch effect. People want games for the Switch, and I think there is something cool to this system with the Joy-Cons and holding it in your hands and being able to take it with you. And the tech is good. The tech is good, except some of it isn't. But we'll get to that in a minute. So I'm going to say that in terms of games, what a great fucking first year. Nintendo delivered. You got a major release. We get a new Kirby game in just a couple weeks. That's pretty cool. This past couple months, there hasn't really been anything that's interested me. I don't think I've bought a new Switch game in a little while. Probably maybe a couple indies, but like I said, Cluster Truck is coming to the Switch. Bridge Constructor Portal. Oh, Bayonetta 1 and 2. Again, you're rewarded for not having owned a Wii U if you get these games, because then they're new and they're great. They're better versions of them. Bayonetta 2 is one of my favorite action games like ever made. I'm not going to buy it again, but it's a good game. I would recommend it if you haven't played it. Bayonetta 3 has been announced. So then you have stuff like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which is coming to the Switch with new Funky Mode, another game that I love, but I'm not buying again. I know Retro took 4 years to develop Funky and Surfboard Physics. I'll wait for their next game. You have stuff like, what else? There's a couple of other ports. What other ports are we getting, dudes? My dudes. What other ports from the Wii U? So we had Mario Kart 8. We've got Dong, Bayonetta. No, I'm talking from the Wii U. Hyrule Warriors, thank you. Yeah, Hyrule Warriors. In case you haven't played it already twice. Like, why? Why would we need that? World Ends With You, there's another one. Pokken Tournament. So, yeah, there's quite a few games that maybe you will have played on the Wii U, but if you haven't, maybe they're worth it for you. I forgot Pokken existed. So there's also, in the future, the potential of more. Listen, if they do Smash on the Switch, I've said this before, I'll say it one more time. We don't know what's going to happen this next year. This me talking today, I could easily speculate and project and tell you what I want for 2018 and beyond. Ultimately, I just wanted to cover the first year. What I will say is this. Now that we've had these big releases, we know Metroid Prime 4 is coming out. We don't know when. I'm interested. I'm cautiously optimistic. I know it's potentially Bandai Namco that's developing it. That may have been confirmed, but then I heard people saying it wasn't confirmed. The point is, this year we got a couple games coming out that I'm interested in, but not blown away by. Like Mario and Zelda were the big ones. I couldn't fucking wait for those games to come out. I can't wait for Metroid to come out, but I'm also a little bit nervous about it. That may not be this year. I think E3 this year for Nintendo is going to be a big thing, because they need at least one major thing to get people really excited. I think Smash would be great. I know Sakurai doesn't want to work on Smash anymore, and he says that over and over and over again, which is why I do think they should just do a Smash 4 Ultimate, where it's everything from Smash 4, including 3DS levels, all the characters, maybe 5 or 6 new characters, the whole roster, plus a couple new ones. Bring back Snake, which wouldn't happen, sadly. Maybe some new levels, better online infrastructure. You know, I mean, we're going to be paying for the online soon enough, so why not increase the quality and performance of the online? That was one of the problems I had with the Wii U version. It's just laggy a little bit, so I wasn't really into that. But I definitely feel like if they're going to do Smash without Sakurai, it's going to be kind of weird. You know, Sakurai is the heart and soul, the life force of this franchise. I think they could do it, but if you want it to be that same feel, you need the master, which is why a couple new characters plus some bells and whistles, I'd be fine with it. I'd prefer a brand new Smash game. You know, it's been 4 years. We can do probably levels from Breath of the Wild. We can do new Mario Odyssey levels. We can, you know, get Cappy in there. We can get Link's updated look. Samus would be the exact same as it's been for years. Well, maybe not. I mean, Metroid Samus Returns, there could be some good stuff in there. We'll see. You know, we'll see what happens. I don't know. Whatever happens with this year, I think we need one big title, because cardboard ain't going to cut it. Now, I know that's not the first year, but Nintendo Labo is a very silly concept that I think is way more appealing to people than I expected it to be. And I've seen it in action. I've seen some of the, you know, the trailers, of course, and it's just a thing for kids and maybe some adults, and it's fine. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. It's an interesting peripheral concept, so that you can have a huge number of peripherals and mini games without having to buy the plastic. Instead, you're buying the cardboard for it. Whatever. But that's not going to sell systems to the core audience, which Nintendo got back and continues to grow with games, you know, like Zelda that came out that, you know, people really wanted to play. People that were, you know, a PC or Xbox gamers for years, they were like, okay, that game looks awesome. You know, so that's more the casual audience, in the same way the Wii brought over new gamers and kids. Maybe that'll be that. I think these two things can exist in the same world. I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive. I think the Switch can be a core system and also have the stuff that that the kids can play. I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I might get the cardboard thing just because I'm a streamer and because I might want to check it out on stream. If I wasn't, I wouldn't even really be considering it. So anyway, let's talk about, we did major releases, we did indie games. Let's talk hardware. The Switch itself feels sturdy. I have not had any problems with it. There have been no malfunctions. Battery life is pretty decent depending on the game you're playing. I can play Isaac for like 4 or 5 hours at a time. That's pretty okay. And then, you know, games that are more graphically intensive, you lose battery life. 3 hours is a little. Well, it's a little. It could be better. I think it could be better, and I think it will be better with peripherals. There's some, or additions, there's some that came out already, like battery packs and stuff. But, you know, I just carry with me a charger. I bought a separate, like, cable, and it goes into the wall, and it's USB-C. So if I ever need to charge, if I'm out someplace, I got that. You know, I don't have to bring my dock with me and anything like that. So in that sense, battery life is both a little crap, but also workable. I like the feel of the Joy-Cons. I was always really into that. When you play something like Overcooked and you separate the Joy-Cons and you turn it on its side, or like you go to someone's house and you play Mario Kart 8, it's insane how much like the commercials this thing really is. Like the commercials, the advertisements before the system came out, like they're on a rooftop party, you know, they're in a gym, they're doing all this stuff, and then someone comes along with a fucking Switch and they pop out the Joy-Cons, and then suddenly pure ecstasy. And it's like, I had at least 3 or 4 of those moments in the past year, and people were like really fascinated by this little device, and they liked the Joy-Cons and Mario Kart, and it actually is like kind of caught me off guard. I was like, oh wow, I am a commercial. So the tech works. I mean, it works as advertised. However, I do have a couple of issues. So I wrote these down into a list. Here's my issues a year later with the Switch, including hardware. And these are big problems, some of them, and some of them are nitpicks, but let's go into it. Let's just jump right on into it. Number one is cloud saves. Cloud saves are still not a thing, and you can't transfer your data to your computer or an SD card. What the fuck, Nintendo? So, okay, here's what happens to some people. They have to get their Switch repaired because something went wrong, and then Nintendo's like, yeah, we fixed your system. By the way, you lost all your save data. This happens. That's not something I like to hear. That's not encouraging. So if my dock stops working, for example, and there's a chance I have to send the Switch into Nintendo, I will not be comfortable doing that because I'm worried that I would lose my data. Can't back it up on a computer, can't back it up to an SD card. There's no cloud saves. This is a huge problem, and it's like almost expected these days to have something like this. But it kind of goes back to Nintendo like always having something. There's always something with their systems. Like the online infrastructure has always been kind of lame. They were like the last to the party with online. A lot of times they don't kind of compete in the same sphere as a lot of the other consoles, and so they end up leaving out what seems to be like kind of obvious features for current year. I don't know, man. They need to fix that quick. My other issue is the Pro Controller D-pad. That was a personal issue where there was something, and this is confirmed, like to the point where people have been fixing this. The D-pad is just too weirdly sensitive. And if you're playing a game like Puyo Tetris and you're using the D-pad, you will fuck up every now and then. When you're switching weapons with Breath of the Wild, sometimes you'll go left and you'll go up instead. It's just a minor problem that turns into a pretty severe annoyance depending on the game you're playing. Okay? That's something that I kind of wish I could just send it in and get it fixed, but I don't think they're doing that. Early on in the Switch, so this is number 3. Early on in the Switch's lifespan, when I first got it, the Joy-Con did not connect properly and there was like interference. So I sent the thing to Nintendo, they sent it back to me and they fixed it a bit. There's still interference issues when I use the Joy-Cons separated from the system and it's in the dock. Now granted, my Switch is by other electronics, it's by my wireless router, and it's inside like a little cubby hole. I can't really figure out a better way to say that. Cubby hole, sure. So there will be times where, a friend will be on the couch playing like Overcooked or something, and then, or Isaac or whatever, and if you're using the Joy-Con, you might not get a solid connection 100% of the time. Pro Controller, no issues. Joy-Cons, issues. So even with the fix, which improved it by like 50 to 60%, I still had issues. Okay. The online service is baffling to me. This is another one. I still don't have any good info. There's been some issues with the online. Like Splatoon 2 has been pretty solid. Mario Kart has been half solid, half a complete fucking mess. And I'm not really a fan of that because, we're going to be paying $20 a month soon. We still don't know the full details about what we're getting with $20 a month, but even though Nintendo has always been behind on the online, this isn't really something I can't just write it off. It's like, come on, I can't imagine paying a certain amount of money and then going into Mario Kart and then getting disconnected mid-match or like losing my score because I have to join back in. It's just, it's something that needs to be addressed, and I hope that it will be addressed with the $20 a month, or $20 a year. Sorry, $20 a year online fee. That's their service. Apparently, we're getting some games that will also be, retrofitted with online, like some classic games, similar to PS Plus. Which, by the way, the PS Plus and Xbox One service where you get free games per month. Son, Bloodborne is free on the PS4. If I'm getting it Balloon Fight with online gameplay, no. Like, give me Mario Sunshine. What are you doing, Nintendo? Come on. I love the system. I love Nintendo's games, but I still have my nitpicks, and I still have my issues with some of the way they communicate. Like, it's been a year, we still don't know fully what's happening with online, and it needs to be addressed a bit. Okay. Next is voice chat. Voice chat is through an app that is confusing and convoluted, and there should just be, in my opinion, there should be just like a jack. You just plug some headphones into with a little microphone, kind of like Xbox or PlayStation, and then you have voice chat. I use Discord instead. So I still think that the app thing was a misfire, and I'm not into it. Some people probably are into it. I'm not into it. Weird. Apparently, Payday 2, for as poopy as it is as a port or whatever, there's no way to communicate, so you have to jump on Discord. Could you imagine a game like Payday 2 where communication is vital and you have no way of communicating? What? Still no Nintendo Virtual Console information. It's been a year. I know they wanted to ride out that NES and SNES Classic mini thing, but I think it's time. I think this system has potential. We can dip back into the GameCube library, and this is coming from someone who has all the games that I want to play. This isn't really for me. I can play the games, like Sunshine and Wind Waker, if I want to, but at the same time, having portable GameCube games would be great. Even just some of the portable, like, N64 and SNES games, that would be great. I also want to know if I have to buy them again, because I have Super Metroid on the Wii. I have Super Metroid on the 3DS. Wait, not on the 3DS. I have Super Metroid on the Wii U. Those are two separate purchases, and I believe it's also on the 3DS. So, will I be able to, say, link my Nintendo account and be like, hey, by the way, I bought this game back in 1994 and 2 more fucking times in the past couple years. Can I get a discount, or maybe can I just get the game for free? So that's kind of a problem. I think the Virtual Console is a big thing for a lot of people, and even though it's kind of piss easy to emulate, Pep Secret, and also the NES Classic and all that fun stuff, and I have my old systems. If I wanted to play like Skies of Arcadia, if I wanted to play Mario Sunshine, I can just throw that shit in my Wii or my GameCube, whatever. It's still a big feature for some people. We don't have any information about it, and it's like getting kind of like, what? This was a big thing. Where is it? So there's that. I guess to a smaller degree, which is something I'll complain about, but I wouldn't specifically say it's ruined the Switch for me. No browser. No Netflix. The Netflix app was updated recently on the Wii U, but there's no Netflix on the Switch. And I feel like the Switch would be a good candidate for Netflix. I'm not saying that I need these things, because it is first and foremost a game system. It is a dedicated gaming system. It's a fast system that loads up right away. And if we add more stuff to it, maybe it would slow it down, bog it down. Maybe it would confuse what it's supposed to be. I know Nintendo is trying to be in their own space in the market and not do just what everyone else is doing, which is to say, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I've supported Xbox. I've had their systems. I love a lot of their exclusives, but my Xbox One is a Blu-ray player. That's all it is. I've played Rare Replay Collection. I played N64 games on it. I played a little Halo and a little Gears of War. I've spent more times with Blu-ray on the Xbone. And I don't mean that as a slight. I'm just telling you like it is. That's it. That's how it is. Part of me feels like, oh, we have a gaming system here with the Switch, and it's meant for games, and I don't have to think about like media. I can do the media on everything else. That's fine. But still, it would make it convenient. You know, options. PS4 has a lot of great games, but it also has the media stuff. So I guess in some ways, Nintendo's refusal to go in that direction can be annoying to some people. Like I said, not a deal breaker for me, but I want to call it like it is. The other negative is, again, I'm not as excited about this year's games as opposed to last year's games. The first year, it hit. It was great. I'm still playing my Switch. I've got games I haven't completed from last year. I look forward to more of the indie stuff. I hope we keep getting the classics. I hope like something like FTL comes to the Switch. Into the Breach is a great game. I'll be streaming that in a couple minutes. That game would be great on Switch. You know, I really do like the system, and I like playing games on it. And I think it's way better than the Wii U. Like overall, as a system, it's as a strategy from Nintendo to release games on it. And I think that the fact that the 3DS life cycle is coming to an end is a bonus, because then they can consolidate their handheld departments and their console departments for the first time, and we're really going to start to see some good releases on the system. So this is a big thing for Nintendo, for a company that people were saying they're done. They've done this every time a system has not sold well. GameCube, N64, the end of the Wii, people were like, nah. The Wii U, there's always some kind of like cry on the internet. Nintendo's going to go third party. They're done. They're failing. And then they pull this shit out. I mean, they're a fucking multi-billion-dollar like company, and I don't think, even if they did have a clunker like the Wii U, and say the Switch was a disaster, I still think they would have plenty of money to try again. But that also leads me to another issue. One quick thing. There is a statement about Nintendo saying something like that they wanted the Switch to last like 10 years. They wanted the life cycle of the Switch to be like 10 years. And with its success, they think they can do that. All right, listen. Okay. It's a good system. It's not a 10 years good system. I'm not all about visuals. I do think gameplay is more important. But if I have to play crusty ass games 10 years from now, when we're in like a VR fucking fuck space, and you get to like go into a holodeck like on the Enterprise D, and I'm still playing like blurry Doom crust. No offense to Doom, it's impressive. With textures that look like they belong on the N64. Listen. No. Please, do me a favor. Update the system. If they're going to do like one of those XL special editions like they do with the 3DS, I think it would be a great idea to increase the power like drastically, 4 or 5 years from now, maybe less, in a way that allows for new experiences. And then, more games that are being developed could come to the Switch. I don't know. I mean, the Switch brand is good. Let's not ride the current model for 10 years. We're going to need something. That's just my opinion. Maybe a Switchbox 1X. Yeah, maybe. So, I guess it's a blessing and a curse in some ways that, that the system has been such a huge success. But I think it's mostly a blessing, and it's good that we're going to get good support from third parties. We're going to get some, hopefully, original concepts. Some new IP from Nintendo. I mean, they're doing Labo. That's brand new. But I would still like to see at E3 this year some new stuff. We got, a couple of new things. 1-2 Switch was a misfire. ARMS was kind of okay. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't like, again, it wasn't like Zelda level good. It was just good. So for the future, I would like to see more of the hardware stuff I complained about addressed. I would like to start seeing some more new IP, maybe from Nintendo, maybe from collaborators. I need to know what Retro's working on, man. If it's not Eternal Darkness 2 and it's another Dong game, I'll be disappointed, but I'll still play it. And I guess for a full year, 1 year to the day, I like it. It's a bit of an understatement, but I like it. I bring it with me when I go out and, I'm public transporting or I'm in the studio and I'm just kind of not doing a whole lot that day. Sometimes I'll play from my couch while I listen to a podcast. And there's some great games on it. So they did a good job. And I would hesitate to give it like a number or a letter score. But if you've listened to this whole thing, you kind of have an idea of what I would give it and where I would go in that regard. I would give it high marks. And, high marks. But I would take off some points for the stuff that I don't like. The scratching dock, the some of the issues that I had with the cloud saves and the voice chat stuff. So some things. Let's hope 2018 is a good year for the system. I don't think it'll be as good as 2017 was for it, but not a bad launch year. Perhaps one of the best launch years like ever for a system. Perhaps. Just the sheer volume of games, the success of the system, the revitalization of the Nintendo brand. It's pretty fucking astounding. And unlike the Wii, now they're readily available. By releasing in March, they slowly kind of built their hype and then stored up and built more systems so that by the time the holiday came around, they had enough to sell to people. And I think that was a huge thing, and it helped sell a lot of systems. So good job, Nintendo. You did a lot right. You still do some things weird, but we love you. Just get us a Smash Brothers, okay? Get Snake in there. Get Snake away from Konami. Take Snake. Take him. Just take him. That's it. You guys have any thoughts? Vinny, Pokemon will sell 20 million more systems. Just watch. Animal Crossing would be great. What is this? Just reading some of the stuff. Bridge Constructor Portal is on Switch. Yes, it is. Will you be scrumming tonight? Yes, I will. Scrumming. Bayonetta 3, Metroid Prime 4. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. We don't know what year they're coming out. They could be this year. They could be the end of next year, beginning of next year. What would Nintendo have to do for you to say, fuck this, I'm done with Nintendo? Zelda, Mario, Pachinko machines. New Advance Wars. I'm sick of Fire Emblem, says a member of the chat. I agree. Fire Emblem is a big franchise, and it's seen a lot of success recently. But I'll say this, I would love Advance Wars. That was a great series that I feel I miss terribly. Octopath Traveler, yes, that was a good demo. I think that has potential. How about a new Mario Party on the Switch with online? That would be amazing, wouldn't it? New Kid Icarus? I would love a new Kid Icarus, man. There is a game called Wargroove that is inspired by Advance Wars, which I think people will be very pleased for, when that comes out. Do you think we'll be getting Spelunky 2? I hope so, desperately. I'm going to play it day one wherever it comes out, but I would love if Spelunky 2 was on Switch. That would be great. A real Paper Mario would be great. I'm not going to play the Kirby demo. I'm just going to get the game when it comes out and play it. Captain Toad 2. I'd play that. Sure. Bayo 3 is coming out pretty soon. Excellent. Yes, very good. Excellent. So, what did you guys think? Do you think it was a good year for the Switch? Any Switch owners here, like, utterly disappointed? Any Switch owners really, really happy with it? Mario Maker 2? That would be good. They need to sell a stylus with it, or give a stylus with it, because I don't want to make Mario levels with my fucking finger in handheld mode only. People said that it was kicked the shit out of every other system. It's been pretty damn good. Yes, it had a better launch year than other systems. Got mine at Christmas, but I like it a lot. Got one for Christmas. It's been amazing. It's a good system. I'm good with my Switch. I await emulation. Tingle's new manly adventures. You know, speaking of Tingle, I just want to give a quick final thought, and I want to say rest in peace, Billy Harrington. For those that don't know, that is the dude from Gotchi. Listen, I'm not going to explain it. I'm really, really not going to explain it. It's a very, very sad day, and our use of the word jabroni comes from one of Billy's videos, and yeah, he's no longer with us. What a nice dude he was. He'll always be the boss of the gym, you know? Yeah, hate to break the news for anyone who didn't know. He was really good with his fans, despite how bizarre his audience and, like, kind of internet fame had become. He was just really into it. He just liked being, you know, he liked being what he was, which is loved by people on the internet. So, rip. Sleep well. All right, now listen. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be back with a little bit, not too much, but a little bit of a recent favorite, Into the Breach, made by the people that made FTL. Skyrim will be later on. Maybe only Skyrim. Maybe a little bit of Subnut too, we'll see. Thank you for listening to my year in review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was worth it, I guess. I don't know why people care, but I'm glad you do. That's my unprofessional opinion of the Switch. It was a good year for it, and I look forward to better times ahead and good times. Now, let us take our BRB, and I will return